ways, you gotta have a sequel.
Welcome back to the show, where we like scary movies. Look out everyone, there's a new Scream movie coming out this March. It's Ghostface Takes Manhattan. I don't think it can ever beat a weird zombie profusely throwing up while saying mommy in a baby voice. But I am still pretty excited about this. So much so that I decided to dig up this old Ghostface mask that I wore on Halloween when I was probably 9 years old or something. And I have decided to kick off the new year with a bang. A marathon of every Scream movie. That's right, Scream 1, 2, 3, 4, and Scream. You gotta love how on the Blu-ray it says all new movie, in case anyone thinks this is, you know, Scream 1. Speaking of which, heads up, I already did a video on Scream about a year ago. I actually recorded that video just after getting my tonsils removed, so I kinda sound like Gollum if he had throat cancer. But anyways, today we're moving on to the sequel, the meaner, the bigger, the absolutely not as good sequel to Wes Craven's classic. It's
Scream 2.
Are you suggesting that someone's trying to make a real-life sequel?
It's around January of 1997. Scream came out about a month ago and people love it. It's making a lot of money, it reinvents slashers, and reanimates the cold corpse that was the horror genre in the mid-90s. Therefore, the producers don't waste a single second.
You want to make the second one as quickly as possible.
Screenwriter Kevin Williamson already wrote a bunch of pages, production is greenlit in March, and they're already shooting the sequel in July, only 7 months after the first film's release. Things are going pretty well, I'd say. Wait, did I say well? Oh, I meant horrendously horrible. Yeah, turns out the whole script got leaked on the internet overnight, and despite not being fully finished, it did give away major plot points and revealed who the killers would be. So, big whoopsie on that part. Well, thankfully, Wes Craven didn't seem too bothered by that.
All those you little fuckers out there that think that's really cute, you fucking ruined our next 3 months.
Yeah, everything's a mess now.
I feel really bad.
The movie goes through severe rewrites. Craven is forced to write some additional scenes, sometimes as they were filming them. The identities of the killers are completely changed, and then changed again, only to be changed again. And the entire third act has a massive overhaul. The production is extremely rushed, and the deadlines are very tight. They gotta finish the goddamn movie. And somehow they do. Somehow, Scream 2 comes out, it's pretty well received and makes a lot of money. Boy, making movies is fun. Of course, making a sequel to Scream is not the easiest task.
It's a Scream, baby!
The first movie was all about playing with conventions and making up new rules that the audience did not expect.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
And it did it flawlessly. So how do you go about making a new one that can still surprise people? That's a struggle in and of itself, but when you have to rewrite a large portion of your script because of some fuckers online, and you have other writers coming along, well, it's gotta suck. I still enjoy Scream 2 a lot. I think it's one of the better sequels in this franchise, but it is unquestionably a messy movie that sometimes makes you go, what is going on? What is this I'm watching right now? Why is everybody so stupid? Why is this guy dancing? It sure has its ups and downs.
Ow.
And I'll take a stab at exploring those, starting with... If it's a Scream movie, we gotta talk about the opening. It's a staple in this franchise. And you know what? This one's pretty damn good. Just like the first one, they immediately established the meta self-awareness. It starts with this couple going to see Stab, a movie based on the horrific events that took place in Woodsboro a year prior. So you basically get a shitty, overly Hollywoodized version of the opening of Scream 1. But here's the catch. Everyone in the theater gets a Ghostface costume to wear for the premiere. I'm sure you get where this is going. No, not roleplay sex, but a packed room full of ghost faces and a killer among them. Could it be this guy? No. So we're off to a pretty great start. The fake movie within a movie idea is really fun on its own, but it also has purpose in the logic of the film. First off, they're directly holding a mirror up in front of the audience saying, hey, this is what you guys look like, and this is the type of stuff you enjoy. The Scream films always like to poke fun at moviegoers and horror fans, so that's a great way to do so. But, most importantly, it shows how people like to take advantage of terrible events, use tragedies for profit and fame, which is an interesting recurring theme throughout the film.
Ooh, I love scary movies.
It's the same with having a room filled with ghost faces. Not only does it add tension, since the killer could be anywhere, could be this guy, but it also shows how we tend to commercialize and create entertainment out of, horrific psycho killers.
Take back the complaint.
No. The one thing I don't like quite as much with this opening is our main couple. We have this guy Phil and this lady Maureen, played by Jada Pinkett Smith. I mentioned that for no particular reason whatsoever. I just found them to be really annoying. Jada just complains the whole time.
Bitch, hang the phone up and star 69 his ass. Damn.
And then her boyfriend jump scares her. Just the most annoying people. In the first one, I was biting my nails, hoping Drew Barrymore, star of Never Been Kissed, would make it out alive. She was likable, and despite her short screen time, people could relate to her. It's a shame, all she had to do was answer some horror trivia.
Name the killer in Friday the 13th.
Okay, say it with me. It's Mrs. Voorhees. God damn it, Drew. She's dead now. And that packed a punch. Anyways, these guys, I could give two shits whether they live or die. And speaking of shits, Phil gets to the nearest bathroom, leading us to the first and arguably shittiest kill of this movie. So he takes a leak, and then he hears something weird in the other cabin. A little mumbling. So, logically, he sticks his face against it and starts giggling like a little girl. What are you doing, man? You're missing the movie. Your girlfriend's waiting for you. Just get out of there. Nope, he'd rather listen to the mysterious mumbling, which leads to an obvious stab in the fucking face. And that feels oddly satisfying for me. But overall, just kind of a letdown. Then on to the good stuff. Ghostface quietly sits next to G.I. Jane, and she doesn't suspect a thing. Well, that is until he fucking stabs her repeatedly. Then she suspects a thing. It's such a great idea to have someone dressed as the killer, and Jada slowly dying with nobody helping her, either because they're too focused on the movie or because they think it's an act. Her only chance of getting help is to get on the stage in front of everybody and cry for help, but at that point it's too late. She dead. That's one of the fun things with Scream 2's opening. You're not alone trapped with a killer in your house. You're out in the open with 100 people, but they're too busy staring at a pair of tits on the screen to notice you're bleeding out. In just about 11 minutes, they very well establish the themes, the humor, the tension, and the death of two annoying people.
Yes.
It's just a fantastic way to start your movie.
I'll wait for video. Okay, let's get down to business.
So, Scream 2 seems to be a cash grab that was rushed in order to make a few bucks off the success of the first film, but it's not just that. It does have a soul, more so than Wes Craven's My Soul to Take. Not a very good movie. In fact, it has more reasons to exist than most slasher franchises that perhaps should not have had 12 sequels. The good stuff with this movie mostly comes from the meta self-awareness. This time, screenwriter Kevin Williamson, with his big, smart, juicy brain, doesn't just poke fun at slasher movies in general, but the way sequels work. One of my favorite scenes is when Randy once again lays out the rules of horror films, but this time with a twist. It's the second entry.
So it's our job to observe the rules of the sequel.
It's gotta be bigger, louder, with more deaths, more suspects, more humor, more explosions, more of everything. Williamson lands some decent jabs at the typical Hollywood way of things.
Aliens, far better than the first.
You're wrong.
There's fun banter between characters arguing about whether sequels can be better than the original, or if they're cursed to be a letdown.
The Godfather, Part 2.
Yeah. The fake movie within a movie gag is once again another great addition. It shows how violence can be highly marketable, and it leads to some fun comedy, with Williamson seemingly poking fun at his own writing.
Stupid.
Little fun fact, Sydney from the fake movie is played by Tori Spelling, who a couple years later went on to play in Scary Movie 2, a franchise that started as a Scream parody.
What's that noise?
For some reason, Tori was also nominated for a Razzie Award for her performance in Scream 2, even though she only has a humorous cameo. Not sure what this is about, but anyhow. I like the exploration of people's obsession with fame in this movie. Sydney is now a star, harassed by journalists begging for her comment on everything Scream related, kind of like in real life.
You had supposedly signed a secret contract with Scream 6. Is there any truth to that or not?
There is not.
The dumb white bitches at school want to hang out with her only because of her final girl clout. Also, Cotton Weary's back, the guy who was wrongly accused of murdering Sydney's mom in the first movie. And I love how he just unapologetically wants to go on national television and just get his 15 minutes of fame.
It's Diane Sawyer. Hello?
That's all he wants for the whole movie. He reckons, hey, I rotted in prison for a year for something I didn't do. Might as well take advantage of that. Now, we'll talk about the killers later on, but some of their motivation also comes from wanting to be famous. The Woodsboro murders that happened in Scream 1 aren't seen as a tragedy anymore. They're seen as opportunity, and I find that very interesting. Keeping up with the positives, we also have another decent whodunit mystery here.
Do you have any suspects?
There's plenty of suspects with various possible motives, and it was really hard to tell who would end up being the killer. Maybe that's because it was hard to tell for the screenwriters as well. Pretty much every character in this movie was at some point or another supposed to be the killer. Must have been a fucking nightmare for them.
All those you little fuckers out there.
But speaking of which, whenever Ghostface shows up, we do have some great nail-biting scenes. Unlike other slasher films that are all about how people are gonna get killed, the Scream films are usually focusing more on the cat and mouse dynamic, and it's done very well. I guess my best way of describing Scream 2 is that it's just a fun time. It's got effective horror and effective humor. It's a good slasher film. But, that being said, what it doesn't do best for me is how it handles its characters. I find the characters in Scream 2 to be not great, both the old and the new. So let's get this out of the way. The new characters here are bland as fuck. They're about as memorable and interesting as this gray wall here. So Sydney has a new best friend now, as her previous one was not doing great. And for the life of me, I couldn't tell you her name. Apparently it's Hallie.
What?
Yeah, Sydney also has a new boyfriend, as her previous one is not doing great either. It's the handsome Derek.
Hello, Derek. How you doing?
As for Randy, he's got a best pal, Mickey. We see him for about 1 or 2 scenes. And lastly, Gale Weathers has a new rival. There's a new journalist in town, baby, and her name is Debbie Salt.
I'm Debbie Salt?
Yes, Debbie Salt. Well, I'll give them this. These people all have something in common. They're fucking boring. They have zero development whatsoever, zero chemistry. Forget about the fun, relatable banter between stupid teenagers. Here, instead, we have whatever this is. I guess the one memorable character thing that happens here is when Derek starts dancing and singing on a table. It's about as awkward as you would expect. My cringe radar is going off the charts. These new guys are like cardboard pieces following the main characters around and desperately trying to be relevant. In the end, as much as Scream 2 tries to poke fun at horror tropes, it ends up having bland characters that exist only to die. Just like the cliche horror films they're making fun of. As for the returning characters from the first film, well, the ones that aren't dead, I'll admit I was happy to see them back. I like these guys. But the issue is, it feels like Craven and Williamson didn't know what to do with them. These guys all had their perfect arcs in the first movie. They had some beautiful character development, so they don't really have anywhere to go here. In the first one, Sydney finally got revenge on her mom's killer, and she was able to get through her trauma. Randy was the comedic relief, here to explain the rules of horror movies. He was the relatable guy, kind of like the audience. Gale at first starts as a cold-hearted bad guy who just seeks fame, but she ends up joining forces with our characters to defeat the killers. Dewey started as a bumbling, incompetent cop, but he was able to prove himself, and even got the girl at the end, both in the movie and in real life, until they divorced. Sorry. These characters all had purpose in the movie. So what do they do in the second one? Well, they just do more of the same. Yes, Sydney is once again a tough, badass final girl who's also very vulnerable. Randy, he dies. Gail is once again trying to be famous and she's mean with everybody. That is until she has a change of heart and she helps catch the killer. Dewey once again tries to prove himself.
Page 41. Deputy Dewey oozed with inexperience.
And he leads the investigation to catch the killer. We think he dies, but then at the end he's okay. It's like I'm having deja vu here. I've seen this all before. I feel like the character arcs from the first film were reset in order to do them all again. The other major problem here is that people now act like complete idiots. Sure, you can excuse Sarah Michelle Gellar going up the stairs when Ghostface shows up.
Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door.
That's dumb, but maybe she just hasn't seen enough horror movies to know better. But Sydney, Randy, Gail, and Dewey, hey, that rhymes. But they should all know the rules very well now. They've been through this shit before, so you expect them to be smart about this. And yet, what happens? Well, for one, Randy gets a phone call from Ghostface when he's hanging out with Gail and Dewey in public. Yes, Randy, the horror movie Lordmaster, the guy who knows every single rule, the guy you go to first thing when you want advice on how to survive in a horror movie. Yeah, that guy. What does he do? Well, he brilliantly decides to A, split up.
Let's split up and see if we can find this mysterious ghost.
And B, backs up against a van in which someone could be hiding in. You know what? Doesn't end very well for him.
He would never have backed up against anything without windows.
Fuck, why do I gotta get killed?
No!
Then these two are investigating these gruesome murders. They have a lead in an empty school, and then they start making out on their way to having passionate sex. Guys, idiots.
You can never have sex.
That's not all, folks. Sydney is also cursed with idiocy in this one.
Oh my god.
Mainly in one of the most suspenseful and effective scenes in the film. You know that one where she and her friend must get past an unconscious Ghostface to get out of a police car? It's very tense. It's very well made, but in what world would Sydney just run away without double tapping the killer? What's up with that? You have an immeasurable amount of options to get rid of this killer. You can snap his neck, you can stab him with the car keys, gouge his eyes out, but no, they get out and run away. Only for Sydney to stop midway and say,
I want to know who it is.
"What? But you just ran away."
If we know who it is, then it's over.
Do you know how else this could be over? If you killed him a few seconds ago? When you had the chance? Oh, naturally she goes back to unmask the killer, but big shocker to absolutely no one, Ghostface is gone.
Oh shit.
Oh shit. And then her friend gets killed. Hey, this is all your fault, idiot. Because of you, Sydney, we lost a major important character. It was, Hallie. Why are you guys all so stupid? In a movie all about playing with tropes and cliches, this one seems to have an awful lot of them. Okay, so after Sydney's little fuck up, she runs to the nearest abandoned school and she gets to the auditorium. But surprise, the killer shows up. This is it, the moment we've been waiting for. That's right, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, the killers!
Oh my god, who is it? Huh? Who is that? What? Oh, wait, there's a second killer. I knew they wouldn't let us down like this. Here we go. What? Who in the actual fuck are these people? Yeah, I guess that's what happens when little fuckers out there leak the script on the internet. Okay, so quick recap. This is Mickey. You don't remember him? Well, neither did I. But he's Randy's friend. You know, that one who likes horror movies? Yes, it's him. So Mickey killed all of these people because, get this, he wants to get caught so that he can blame everything on the movies he's watched.
I'm gonna blame the movies.
And therefore he'll become famous. Sorry, Willie, I love you, but that sucks. So then that lady is, of course, Debbie Salt.
I'm Debbie Salt?
That annoying news reporter, but big twist. It turns out she's actually Billy Loomis's mother.
Billy's mother!
and she's out for revenge. Yes, she'll avenge her rapist, psychotic, murderous son. Safe to say, this is not the strongest reveal. We barely know who these people are. We didn't spend any time with them. Their motivations are either downright shit or cliche at best. And furthermore, these guys are not very interesting once the mask comes off. Do you remember how Billy and Stu had fun banter? They had great chemistry.
I'm feeling woozy, yeah!
They were unhinged and terrifying, but in this darkly fun kind of way. Yeah, that's all gone. Bye-bye. Just throw it in the trash. Instead of having a plot twist that develops the characters and defies horror movie conventions, this feels more like an obligatory reveal pulled out of someone's dirty ass. Bummer, we had a pretty interesting mystery here, and then this just comes out of nowhere.
The effects of cinema violence on society.
All of that said though, I do want to point out that, as always, Roger Jackson is fantastic as the voice of Ghostface.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Showgirls.
Scary, oddly sexy, and incredibly charismatic. There's some fun dialogue here.
Don't forget to set the alarm.
And Ghostface himself with the costume on was fine by me. Still scary, still iconic, and, of course, just as clumsy. You big idiot. Everything that worked about him in the first film works very well in the sequel. The final reveal is ultimately what ended up being a big letdown for me. All in all, as I've said already, Scream 2 is a very fun, enjoyable movie. It has plenty of memorable scenes, sometimes because you're cringing hard, but other times because it's incredibly well written and well executed. Sure, at times it does feel like more of the same, except not as good, but still this is a very worthy follow-up and a nice companion of the first one if you're feeling extra frisky and you want to go for a double feature. I just didn't really like what they did with some of the characters, meaning absolutely nothing. And yeah, the third act was more like a turd act. Some stupid character decisions and a god-awful plot twist, but hey, I guess we can blame the internet trolls for that.
All those of you little fuckers out there that think that's really cute, you fucking ruined our next 3 months.
Despite my couple nitpicks, I would definitely recommend this to any horror fan. Grab yourself some popcorn and enjoy the show. Just make sure you don't stick your face on a bathroom stall during your pee break. It's not gonna end well for you. I'm gonna give Scream 2 and its shitty dance scene 3 ghost faces out of 5. And there we have it. My take on a sequel that I think many people enjoy a lot. And while I do have my bitchy little criticisms that I share on the internet, doesn't change the fact that I had a great time with this. We've got the meta, we've got the body count, the chase scenes, Gail being punched in the face. And even, wait, who is that again? Oh, Mickey. That's right, we have Mickey. Although I don't necessarily love any of the Scream sequels, they're always a fun time. Yeah, even that third one, which has got to be the worst. And speaking of which, I might just be watching that next, and I might just talk about it here, if I have anything to say about it. Heads up, I think it's not very good, but until that happens, you just keep on watching horror movies. They're good for your health. Bye-bye.